All right, council, it's 6 o'clock, so I'll call the October 4th, 2022 meeting to order. And before we get started, I'll ask Stephanie to read our hybrid meeting ground rules and then call the roll, please.
All right, thank you. Tonight's meeting will be held in person with a virtual meeting component. If you are participating virtually, please make sure the name shown at the bottom of your video view is the name you would like the mayor to use. You can change this by right-clicking on the three dots in the upper corner of your video view and clicking Rename. Audience members present in the council chambers will be called upon first during public comment periods. Those participating remotely should virtually raise their hands if they wish to speak. To virtually raise your hand, click on Participants and then click on Raise Hand. If you are participating by phone only, press *9 to raise your hand. Please limit all comments to 3 minutes. All right, roll call. Brent Gary.
Here.
Richard Bloom.
Here.
Fred Brink.
Here, attending remotely.
David Fetto.
Here.
May Hayes.
Here.
Kate Moran.
Present.
John Smart.
Here.
Ken Stoker.
Thank you, Stephanie. Appreciate it. Councilmember Hayes, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening? Thank you, Councilmember Hayes. Council staff, the agenda is before you this evening. Can I please have a motion to approve this agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried unanimous. Thank you. We do not have any presentation this evening, so we'll move on to the consent agenda, which includes the approved minutes of the regular meeting of September 20th, 2022, and a workshop of September 27th, 2022. A resolution 5322 setting public hearing date to consider a petition for a frontage improvement waiver for SR 224, lots 33 and 35 of Western Ridge Phase 2. Resolution 5422 amending the master fee schedule for park impact fees. Motion to authorize the mayor to execute the 2023 through 26 jail contract. Ordinance 2022 amending Appendix A of Ordinance 210 relating to mitigation of development impacts on the city's transportation system. Motion to authorize the mayor to execute engineering services contract with PBS for SR 224 to Red Mountain Transportation Improvement Project. Motion to authorize the mayor to amend engineering services contract with JUB for Well 10 ASR project. And to accept the 2022 street striping project as complete. If there's anyone from the audience, which I see no one here this evening. So we'll reach out to anybody virtually that would like to speak to the consent agenda. If you would like to do so, please raise your virtual hand or *9 if you're by phone. Do you know one virtually? Stephanie, do you?
I do not.
With that, council may have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. This is our first opportunity moving on for citizen public comment for items that are not on the agenda this evening. And if you would like to provide comments, please raise your hand virtually or *9. As I see no one in our audience this evening. Does anybody virtually like to talk to council in regards to items not on the agenda this evening? I see no one virtually. Stephanie, do you?
I do not.
We'll go ahead and then move on to ordinances, resolutions, motions, and public hearings. 8A has been canceled this evening. It was a public hearing that was scheduled this evening, but that has since been canceled. So we'll move right along to 8B, which is ordinance 1822, amending the noise ordinance to create exemptions for the event center. With that, I'll ask Development Director Eric Mendenhall to present his staff report this evening.
All right, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Bringing this item back, we had a long, good discussion last week or last 2 weeks ago about the noise ordinance. I was able to get comments from most of you via email, and I used those comments. It's kind of a, all right, where's everybody at? Where should I go with this? And so I was able to take the majority of what the feedback that I received and put that into the proposed ordinance. So what the proposed ordinance does is it creates up to 5 racing events between 9 and 10 to be exempt from the noise ordinance. It also creates up to 5 non-racing events to be exempt between 9 and 10, with 2 of those to extend between 9 and 11. So it gives them an extra hour into the evening. I also added in there, the events are limited to 4 consecutive days. So they could have them those 4 days throughout the week and weekend, or throughout the week, depending on the circumstance. And that seems to, I think, address the situation fairly well. I will report back a little bit on, and I'll do more of the report in my staff comments about the race. But we did receive 1 complaint the police received from noise over the race over the weekend. So, and that's a individual, I believe, that complained the last time as well. So just to be completely and transparent as far as what's happening out there. I'll talk more about the race event, but staff's recommending that council go ahead and approve the proposed ordinance as proposed before you this evening.
I also might add that this also was at a public hearing, that there was no public comment given as well.
That is correct.
All right, council, may I have a motion, please?
I move that the council approve ordinance 1822, amending West Richland Municipal Code 9.38.030, establishing exemptions for the Red Mountain Event Center to the city's noise ordinance.
Second.
Motion second. Questions of Eric, conversation amongst yourself. So Councilmember Moran has her queue up.
Thank you. Eric, I was just wondering, the previous ordinance, was it that it was going to be 5 total to be split between, or is it still the same 10 and 10?
So this has come a long way through the process. So initially it was 10, it went through the CD subcommittee, was pulled down to 5. But then after discussion or emails, so it wasn't a violation of OPMA. I received individual emails from council members with their feedback, and the feedback was, no, we want to have 10 and allow 10, 5 of those being race events and 5 being non-race events.
Okay, and then do we have a somewhere written in the contract with the Red Mountain Event Center or the entity itself how many specific race events there was? Because I thought that at one point when this was starting, that we had specifically stated that there would be no more than 3 per year, but I could be wrong. Okay.
Need to make a couple of comments. I sent a report to Mr. Mendenhall and didn't share that with any of the council members. I think I might have sent it to a committee or subcommittee. And I just want to explain why I won't support this ordinance. And it's not because I don't support the event center. So I'm gonna make that clear. But what I do support above everything else is our residents' right to a relatively peaceful environment. Perhaps with a couple exceptions, like we were first told would happen with the event center, which was, as Councilmember Moran indicates, 2 or maybe up to 3 race events per year, with the rest of the events being relatively noise benign. So not to go too far into it, but I do want to explain just 3 or 4 of my suggestions. One was that this ordinance should have a actual decibel level at the boundary of the property that shouldn't be exceeded at any time. The way the ordinance is currently written, there is no, and I mean no, limit to the amount of noise that can be generated between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. or up to 11 p.m. in certain events. So that's significant. I know that this weekend on Sunday morning, whatever was racing, I didn't get the privilege of going to see the races. I wish I had, but it was really, really loud. We live 10,400 feet away from the racetrack, several homes between us and them. And I measured on my front porch a decibel level of about 65 dB, which is the conversation level that I'm having right now. I back calculated, and if, you know, rough numbers, those cars must have been outputting something like 120 decibels. At the boundary of the property, that if that holds true, I say if that holds true, those noise levels would be at 92 decibels, which is beyond above ocean limits for exposure greater than 30 minutes, can do permanent hearing damage. So that's just one example of some noise that they could decide under this ordinance to run all day long. So I don't like the fact that there's no limits on the amount of noise. I would advocate for 3 contiguous days, but why split hairs? I would also advocate for hours between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. period. I don't think anybody should have to be woken up if they're a shift worker. And I think people should have the right to go to bed, sleep peacefully after 10. I also think that there's an issue that I mentioned at the last meeting, which is how do you declare whether you're going to exercise your right to have a non-conforming event or not? And that's just not addressed in this ordinance. It's a simple ordinance. I like that part of it, but I'm afraid it doesn't have enough detail to be really to provide our citizens with the environment that I think we've been asked, maybe not directly, but we are definitely, it's a direct implication that we are asked to you know, preserve the quality of the residential experience in West Richland. So I'm afraid that this ordinance exceeds that, or could exceed that. I have trust. I hope I have trust. I want to trust our event center coordinators and our city staff and all the rest of the folks involved to do what makes sense and to not, you know, run extremely loud things at 11 o'clock at night. But sadly, this ordinance doesn't say what I think we mean, at least what I would like it to mean. So that's why I can't support it as it stands. And I just want to make that explanation. I don't want to close down the event center, and I don't want them to stop racing. I would like to see, you know, for example, if they're going to run the kind of cars they ran at 9:30 on Sunday morning, I would much have preferred that to happen at 2 in the afternoon. I was out late coming home from a hike on the other side of the mountains, and that actually woke me up. And I thought, wow, poetic irony here. I was woken up by race cars at 9:30 on Sunday morning. I didn't have to be at church till 10, by the way. So anyway, it wasn't terrible, but it did happen. And I just don't think that we want that at 11 p.m. And this would allow that at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday night. So I just don't see enough restrictions here. This is something that it's our job as city council to restrict, to preserve the quality of living of our fellow residents. So I'll end there. Thank you.
Bill? Got the same card. Councilmember Bloom.
2 of my inputs that were not included was in the discussion we had last council meeting, discussion of fireworks. They're not addressed. I would say a fireworks event would not be part of this aspect, but it's not called out. So that's one of the shortcomings I see. The other thing that we discussed was, and this is somewhat of what Mr. Smart is talking about, if we're going to extend to 11 p.m., I would limit that to only Friday and Saturday nights. That's so maybe,
I just want to respond.
Talk to that.
Yeah, I just want to respond to the firework one. So I did not include that in there because the code already addresses fireworks and when they're allowed and what they can do. And what they're doing out at the event center complies with all of the fireworks code. So since it's already in the code, I didn't want to create another code that then we'd have to make sure gets updated if we ever touch the firework code. So, you know,
The argument of, well, it's already approved, why you have to take the day away from it?
yeah.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Eric, I know you reported the last time. I know you took measurements out at the houses where some of the complaints were and down at the track. Do you remember what those numbers were?
Just a second. Actually, Marissa took measurements this time as well. So I've got those.
Perfect.
I was impressed with the measurement, how many yards away you come from that, right? But he-
I will say, the report that Councilmember Smart put together was pretty, I mean, it's color coded, it's distances in from Google as to where the houses are from the racetrack. It's pretty well in depth.
So here's the email I received from the police department this morning. And Marissa received one complaint over the weekend. She conducted sound test using our audio meter throughout the race weekend, Thursday through Saturday. And the sound ranged from 64 decibels to 77 decibels. She calibrated the odometer before each use and took the reading from Wayland Drive. Marissa has video showing the results of those if you guys need to see that. So, and 64 to 77, if you look at the decibel readings there, as Mr. Smart said, that's about what I'm speaking at right now. And so if you've got a car driving by, someone working in their yard next door, or mowing their yard, typically those noise levels are going to be exceeded. So the background noise exceeds the noise that you're hearing from the event center.
I think can you remind everybody who Marissa is?
Marissa is our code enforcement officer. ACCO, I think is her official title.
Perfect, thank you. And then did she take any measurements at the track itself?
I don't have that data
Okay.
from her. No.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
We thank Marissa for making that extra effort for us, I do appreciate it. Thank you, Councilmember Miranda.
Thank you. When Councilmember Smart was talking, it made me think that, well, the things that I thought were just me might not be just me. I too was concerned about the going until 10 p.m. and I really do think that it would be although it would add more words and make it slightly more cumbersome, I do think that it would at least be a bit of a compromise to say that if events will end at 11 p.m. rather than 10 a.m., or at least the noise levels end at 11 rather than 10 p.m., that it should be only on a Friday or Saturday evening. And then the decibel, I am curious when we're talking about things like noise complaints. The noise complaint you had said before, that is at the person who's complaining location, or is that where the edge of the property is of the noise being made?
So I explained this last time in the hearing, that when we receive a complaint, I always go out to the complainant's, or Marissa has been now, going out to the complainant's home and taking a measurement at that location to show, okay, the noise that's being emitted there by the time it gets to your home is so decreased. That it's no louder than the background noise. But the code says that you've got to take the measurement from the property line and it can't exceed that at the property line. And that's why the whole nexus of creating this ordinance is to exempt them, because while it is emitting noise, typically by the time you get to a resident's home, it's not at the point where it's deafening. It's in a situation that it's annoying. Well, it might be annoying, but it's not to a point where it's doing harm. But at the property line, you know, each time those cars are going by, that meter's accelerated up quite a bit.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because if the code is saying one thing, I want to make sure that we're going by the code, not just by, you know, the person's house. So I thank you very much for that reiteration of that. Thank you.
And I see Councilmember Hayes, you have your card up.
Yes. Eric, what is the range that we're supposed to be in with, is there a set range that's in?
There is, I don't have that in front of me right away, but for single family, I believe it's about 55 to 65 decibels is the range that is allowed.
And businesses are
It's
higher
different
than that,
depending
yeah.
on if you're resident backed up to an industrial property or resident backed up to a commercial property or a resident up to a residential property. There's this table that they have. I'd be happy to show that to you.
Well, I'm just using like the event center I had and the weddings I had and the music that was played. Then we could have it up to 74. And we had a little meter that we tried to keep that out until the band to look, you know, lower it if they went above. But so I know these ranges that you're in, those are very comparable to any of the other events that are going on in town now.
And noise follows a J curve quite nicely. As the further away you get, the more of that decibel rating drops.
Right.
It's on a J curve, so it drops pretty good once the further away you get.
Okay, thank you.
I see Mayor Pro Tem Brink's hand is up. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Very good. Go ahead.
All right, I have given considerable thought to this ordinance. I stated in the last meeting that we as city council do have the ability to change the ordinance if in fact the ordinance we are proposing tonight does not meet the needs of the citizen. We receive a lot of complaints or we otherwise need to change it because of other circumstances. So I supported the ordinance at our last meeting. I support this one. I also have faith, trust, and confidence in the ability of the Red Mountain Event Center staff to do what is right in order to allow for the peaceable enjoyment of our citizens, but at the same time, allowing our citizens to reap the benefits of the diverse types of events that are brought to the city, as well as the potential revenue. I will finally point out that each year around July 4th, we tolerate extreme noise for 2+ days with fireworks going off till past midnight. So that certainly interferes with the peaceable enjoyment of a great many of our citizens. I think we typically receive 10 to 20 times the amount of complaints that we receive from races at the Red Mountain Event Center. So therefore, I support this ordinance as it is written. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Seeing no more cards up, council, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, please.
Okay.
Motion carries 5-2. Oh,
I'm in favor.
you're an aye. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Much appreciated, council. Thank you for having the conversation at my absence and making sure that Mayor Pro Tem had a management task at hand last council meeting, which thank you, sir, for taking the meeting for me. I appreciate it. With that, we have no new business this evening or unfinished business. So this is the time for second citizen comment. If you'd like to address council. We have nobody present in the audience this evening, but I see some members of our community joining us virtually. Like to address council, please raise your virtual hand or *9 if you're on a phone. You recognized. Stephanie. I do not see any hands up or star nines. How about yourself?
I only see Mayor Pro Tem Brink's hand.
Down.
I lowered it.
Yeah, I know you're a citizen, but tonight you're a council member, so that didn't count. All righty, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, then moving on to staff and council announcements. Staff, do you have anything for us this evening? Start with Eric.
To report back on the Red Mountain Event Center and the racetrack event that they had, the Fall Classic. It was a 4-day event they held over Thursday through Sunday of last week. And great event. They did a great job. Traffic was managed very well, I thought. Went to the inside, they had a lot of food trucks, a lot of food for everybody, and a lot of good things going on over there. So they had great races. If you're lucky to be there for the Saturday evening race, the last race of Saturday, they had some toe-to-toe classic racing where you had two cars that were neck to neck with each other for the last several laps, and everyone was standing up and on the edge of their seats, cheering and hooting and hollering. It was a pretty cool event to be at. So that what they've done out there has been pretty amazing, from the derelict facility that it was to where they have it today with all of the services and things that they brought up. So excited for them, excited for what they're doing for our community. If you look at the statistics that they had over 5,000 individuals there at the races for Saturday and Sunday. They had more people there on Sunday than they did on Saturday. And what that does for our community is pretty significant. The number of people that come and stay here in the Tri-Cities and spend money here in the Tri-Cities, the economic injection that is for us is significant and wonderful. I do also want to mention that we had a racer come all the way from Alabama to race at the races, and that was a really cool experience to have him and his dad here racing and being here in the community. They felt so welcomed and they loved it so much that they're going to be coming back, and hopefully they'll be bringing some of their friends with them. So what that'll do for us is bring more people from all over to watch and to participate in the events out at their event center. So good things going on. Excited for that. Excited for what they're doing out there, and it's a good event.
I'll go ahead and tag on that. Well, he mentioned that. So we have a projection of probably at least $500,000 brought into the economy here. 3 to 4 hotels were full. Participants from Canada, Southern California, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, as well as Mobile, Alabama, which I had the opportunity to meet my new best friend, 16-year-old Grant Thompson. Qualified very well, unfortunately had racing incident. So I was able to have dinner with him and his family and hosted them for the rest of the weekend. Very good Southern hospitality was great. I'm going to have an opportunity to go meet them when I'm down in New Orleans here in a few months and go try some Cajun food. Yeah, very good event. Excited to see what they bring, and this is all done in 465 days. We'll get you out the next time. Okay, great. And we'll reach out to Chief Grego.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. We'll start off with staffing report tonight. Just continuing to work on background checks on the individuals that we've given job offers to. Unfortunately, that's taken a little bit of time. There's a little bit of a funnel going on with getting the polygraph stuff done through one individual in the area. So second thing I want to talk about is the Veterans Day Parade. It's coming up November 5th. The police department's involved in the planning process. So we'll be ready for that when that time comes. And the last thing for tonight, I want to talk about and thank all the individuals that were involved in the Chief for a Day with Lana McDowell. I think it went really, really well. Wouldn't have been done without the help of everybody around, including a ton of volunteers, the department, the trainers, everybody. It was just fantastic. Thank you for everybody that showed up. We really appreciate the support and all the local agencies that came by and in her honor. So other than that, I'm good.
Thank you, Chief. Roscoe.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple items. I think over the last couple of weeks, we've received several concerns, emails about pedestrian crossings. You've had a few people come to council. So try to keep you updated on that. So as those come in, again, they're turned over to our engineering staff. We will do the engineering analysis and all that, but it does take some time. And so we're following up with them. Residents don't have to do their own traffic studies. We will conduct that. So, but I do appreciate their concern. Some of them did a lot of work and it's great, but they don't have to go through that. They just need to send us an email with their concerns and we can look into it and what the next steps are. The big push is before the next legislative session is to secure the remaining $23.5 million to Connecting Washington for SR 224 Red Mountain Transportation Improvement Project. Recent updates to the project, when you look at what was, I think the official term is underscoped by the DOT, and with prices since 2015 with asphalt, rock, and concrete, there's a need for an additional $5 million. So that's now a $31.5 million project. And so we are working with DOT and our legislators to secure that so we can still hit construction in the fall of 2024. One good sign is because the city has a robust complete streets program, award-winning complete street standards. That's what we've applied to DOT. DOT now has their own complete standards, which ours meet. And so that makes that project eligible for some possible additional funds from WashDOT to fill that gap that we're seeing. So we're going to be working on that to help us out. It's always good when you have outside agencies ranking that project as a priority. So we're going through the Ben Franklin Council of Governments regional transportation priorities and making sure that that project gets listed on that pamphlet. Later this month, Good Roads will also be doing theirs. So we'll be submitting for that. Councilmember Smart, I won't be there. I'll be in Wenatchee, but our city engineer, Andrew Woodruff, will be presenting at that meeting, and I'll make sure about carpooling with that. So again, we're doing everything we can to keep that in the forefront. I attended a private developer in Pasco did a forum last week on housing and transportation. And I got an invite. And so Eric and I went over there not knowing what to expect. And it was pretty interesting. They actually had Representative Barkas there, the minority ranking member of the Transportation Committee. And so he's out of the 2nd District out of Thurston County. So he's heavily involved with the transportation budget. And then Representative Schmick, I think, used to be in Pasco, but with the redistricting, he's Franklin County going north. But it was basically a lot of Pasco developers or farmers that were developing, and we're having issues with DOT and getting improvements. And so that was kind of the meeting. And I took it upon myself to give them an update on our project and tell them I'd be looking for my $23.5 million and an extra $5 million, and had a good discussion. He's actually going to have a follow-up with us because he's got a problem with his project in Thurston County that's been stalled with DOT and wants to know how a little town of West Richland took over this size project and kept it moving forward. So will be some more follow-ups. So it was a good meeting, good contact with them, and put West Richland's issues at least on their mind. And then lastly, yesterday I took a trip up to Yakima to meet with the Department of Ecology, Tom Tebb. There's a lot of development coming on the ranch. We're going through water and sewer system plans. It's clear that we don't have enough water for that whole ranch. And so looking for additional water, mitigation water to the Columbia River. And so it was a good meeting, and believe that we can access another 3,000 acre feet of water. There'll be some more discussions and whatnot that'll be coming through the utility committee. It's not free water. It does have a cost, and it's not a one-time cost. So there's some challenges there that you pay for the water annually, whether you use it or not. But there's a small window. This is Lake Roosevelt drawdown out of the Columbia River. And it's water that we probably won't need on the ranch for 10 years. Unless, well, we'll see how things go, but could be 10 years out, but 10 years from now, that water won't be available. So it's one of those tough decisions that we're going to have to decide how we're going to do this, how it gets paid for. Because if you don't have water, you're not growing. So that's always been the key with it. So stay tuned for that as I know more. But it was a very positive meeting. There's about 70 applications ahead of us, but because the city of Richland, when Nancy Aldridge worked there, they had submitted a water right back then. We were able to split off of that basically and put us to the front of the line. So pretty slick move. And Pasco used it to just secure 5,000 acre feet of this. So again, these cities are securing water for their future. And we now are at the front of the line with that same opportunity now. So more to come. And again, utility committee, I'm going to abuse them this last couple months of the year. We met tonight looking at CPI adjustments to water sewer development fees. That'll come to council on November 1st. They will be getting a deep dive into the public works budget request. They will get the 2-hour version rather than the 20-minute slide. So yeah, they've got some long meetings between now and the end of the year. That was it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Roscoe. Stephanie?
Thank you. I just wanted to notify council that our next regular meeting scheduled for October 18th has been canceled. But we will be holding a special meeting on the following Tuesday, October 25th, to discuss the 23-24 budget.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Councilmember Bloom?
Well, I was going to comment back on the race report. Do you think the cheering was louder than the cars?
Could actually hear some of that over some of those cars too when those guys were dicing, so yeah.
Well, I said in my comments relative to the staff workshop we had on the budget. Now I found my notes, but that's beside the point. The ongoing issue I've been working on and reaching out to Richland is to make them aware of the Bateman Island project that's coming down the line and make sure that we have community support within the valley for what should happen on Bateman Island. But that's with my Yakima Basin Fish and Wildlife Recovery Board hat. But that should be coming out in sometime November, December. You'll hear a final outcome of that report. But I think that's about it. Mainly, I wanted to know if the cheering. I passed by on Sunday. I didn't hear anything. I came back Sunday. It was pretty quiet.
Well, if you ever have a chance to, I know Fedo's probably going to comment on it because he was there at the races as well. But if you haven't been to a race, you need to go to the races. You need to go there. You need to experience it. You need to see what it's like.
I need to get my motorhome into the
pretty
race.
amazing.
I mean,
There you go.
They close those spots really quick.
You might have it in if you know who to talk to.
And then follow up, Councilmember Bloom called me and talked to me about the causeway and some of the challenges that they're facing. I do have a call in to Mr. I was going to say Ron Austin, I'm thinking Ron Austin, but city manager, and he's going to get back to me as busy with.
I had a good conversation today with Rick. You say his name.
Yeah.
And
Shishel.
Shishel, and I'm reaching out to some of the council members and see if I can get them invited up to the Yakima Basin Fish and Wildlife Recovery Board meeting and have a sort of a neutral spot.
Yeah, on Tuesdays, it's kind of tough to get a hold of both John or Marie, city managers. It's council meeting day, so, but we'll get back to you. Councilmember Fetto? We'll go ahead and start from the other end if you like. Councilmember Hayes, oh, you're good? You're good. All right.
So a couple things. So I guess so I had never been to an actual car race before. I've been here Thursday and Friday a couple times watching the cars run, and I am not a NASCAR fan, but let me tell you, the energy in the stands and around that area, if you've never been, go. You don't have to be a car fan to enjoy the races. It was exhilarating. And then also to talk about, I know we have a lot of noise exemptions, but to talk about the tenants that we chose to take over that land for us have done nothing but sheer miracles with that property since they've taken over just 400 and some odd days ago. It's clean, it's well organized. They've spent millions of dollars of upkeep and tenant improvements that belong to the city of West Richland. They don't belong to Red Mountain Event Center. So if they were ever to leave, that they haven't made the improvements to our land. So shout out to Eric Van Winkle and his crew. What a great job they've done out there. Second, I had the privilege of being at the police station yesterday for Chief of the Day for Lana. Their family motto: include, invest, and inspire. Spend 2 minutes with this little girl and you will feel every bit of that. If you had a chance to look at the video on the police station's website, if it does, on their Facebook page, Instagram, wherever it is, if it doesn't bring something to your heart, you have no heart. It's what a great event. Thank you to all those involved. And then finally, I'm looking at you, Fred. Congratulations to Aaron Judge, the new American League single season home run record holder from the 27-time world champion New York Yankees.
Killing me. All right, Councilmember Moran, thank you, Councilmember Keller.
Thank you. There really was not much that has happened since. However, we did have an orientation meeting for the Tri-Cities Mobility Action Group. And we discussed a little bit about what the group is going to be doing. And I'm part of that through the Benton Franklin Council of Government. The next meeting is going to be October 19th from 3 to 4 online. And if you need information, I can get information to Stephanie regarding who to contact for the Tri-City Mobility Action Group. And they're really looking for more partners in the community, because the more people we can get there, the less work there is for everybody. And we're really looking at walkability, multimodal transportation. A lot of like what we do with Complete Streets is actually what this group is doing. For instance, at the end of 2022, the goal is to have a October 2022, the goal is to have a fiscal analysis of the region based off of the smart growth analysis. Title, I can look it up for you if you'd like, Roscoe, and others. And Aaron from Benton Franklin Council of Governments and Jacob Gonzalez from PASCO are going to be working on that. And they're part of this group. The end of 2020, we expect to have a complete policy assessment related to movability in the region. By January 2023, hold a regional complete street workshop, which I'm sure that we can give them a lot of good information of what we've done here. May 2023, they're going to plan to complete a walk audit throughout each of the cities or jurisdictions throughout the Tri-Cities. June 2023, they plan on getting, or we plan on getting a new complete street guidelines, another one. And that'll be included in the Benton Franklin Council of Governments call for projects. And then by December 2023, we plan to establish baseline accessibility score of the Tri-Cities and adopt a regional complete street policy. So hopefully I can get some good information from you, Roscoe, and from Eric, so that I can make sure that we have what we're doing here well included in that. So that's what I got.
Councilmember Hayes.
Thank you. First, I want to do a shout out to the chief and Alana's day yesterday. It was so moving, and it was just great to be part of that and to meet her family, to meet her. It was very uplifting for everybody that was there. So I'm excited that you guys are going to do this every year, make it a tradition, and it's so important for the community to see the basic personal side of city council and staff and the police, and have that bond with everybody. So great job with that. I want to do a shout out to Mountain Event Center, Eric and Lacey, what they brought to the table with what they've done at the event center. and the events they've had to this point is just amazing for the economy here in West Richland and the whole region, what they're doing. And so, and we're lucky enough to have Lacey sit on our board of directors. So that is wonderful too. So, and then what we have coming up on October 14th is with the West Richland Community Care Foundation. We're going to do an open house and it will be at the Mayfield Event Center from 4 to 6. And the police will be there and we'll have videos going of all the things that the foundation working with the police and what we brought to the community. And so I'm really excited for that. And it's our 5-year anniversary of the foundation. So it's been really great getting the police really involved now with the foundation. So I appreciate that Tom and Jared has come and Athena's involved with it. So it's just really moving along fast and we'll be able to reach out to even more people in need. So I'm really excited about that open house. It's open to the public. I invite you all to come and it should be a really good time. We went out today and took out flyers to 65 of the businesses. It was just, the response was really, they were really excited to see where's the money. And some people said, hey, I do donate to this and where's the money going to? We started to describe and all that. So it was very well received. So I was excited about that. And it's exciting to hear how much our community loves our police department. So give congrats to all your peeps back there. The other thing, like Tom mentioned, the Veterans Day Parade is coming up November 5th. And that's one event that we do like to have all city council ride in that parade. So we always have Stephanie get the names and get it to us because we have to reserve the Mustang cars for all the dignitaries to ride in. So I encourage you all to be part of it. It's going to be a great parade again. And once again, we couldn't do it without the police and everything that you guys do. So I really appreciate it. And then I do want to read the that I got from Washington, D.C. And then I'll give the certificate to you, the mayor, after the meeting. So for the past 15 plus years, we've applied for the regional site designation from the Veteran Affairs in Washington, D.C. And so once again, we got awarded it. And it's our honor to be able to put this parade on. And the designation goes to the city of West Richland. And with the regional sites, a lot of people don't know what it really means. I mean, for the parade, we have contact with, they get us in contact with the governor, with all different entities, the Army, the Navy, and everything. And so it's been the chamber's honor to be able to apply for this each year. We have to send in pictures and video, anything that we have that we take at the parade and leading up to it in the advertisement. So this is what they sent. The Veterans Day National Committee is who it's from. Hereby designates West Richland, Washington as a regional site for the Veterans Day Parade, or Veterans Day, not just parade, I'm sorry about that, 2022. And it's signed by the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Chairman of Veterans Day National Committee. So I just think it's really important that we get this word out to, because to the whole community, to the whole region. We have people that come from Walla Walla and Moses Lake and all over for our parade. And we usually have about over 100. Last year we had 105 entries. So that was about 1,200 people in the parade. And usually we get 2,000 to 3,000 that line the street to watch it. So I encourage everybody to come out, be part of it. It's always a great time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, May. And we appreciate everything you do from the chambers end. You do a wonderful job, a lot of work. How do you find time to do it all? You have to figure it out. But you don't sleep. At our age, we don't need much sleep. Thank you again, May. Much appreciated. I see Mayor Pro Tem Brink's hand is up. Mayor, if you would.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to report to my fellow council members and to the citizens just some of the events that I've taken part in here. September 21st, I was at the Association of Washington Cities Mayor Exchange, which took place this year in the city of Richland. We had, of course, mayors from our local area. I represented Mayor Gary at that event, but discussing the issues and concerns that the chief executive officers and leadership of our cities face. On September 22, I met with the AWC CEO, Deanna Dawson. She replaced Peter King this summer, gave her a tour of the city to show her some of our development, our growth, and as well as discussing the challenges associated with that. But as part of that tour, she visited the West Richland Police Station. And I really want to thank Chief Grego, Commander Clark, and Record Supervisor Stacy Ryan, because they went out of their way to really make Miss Dawson, number one, feel at home, but give her an extremely informative tour of our new police station. On the 23rd of September, I attended the Board of Directors meeting in Seattle. We adopted the city legislative priorities. I'll discuss that at a future meeting. September 25th, I was at the Time of Remembrance ceremony. I was accompanied by council members Bloom, Smart, and Hayes at Flat Top Park. We were privileged to have General Mattis speak to us at that event. On the 28th of September, I went to the Law and Justice Council meeting with Chief Grego. Topic of discussion this time was the impact that the public safety sales tax has on other aspects of the criminal justice system, not just putting police on the street, but also its impact to our criminal justice judicial system, prosecution, defense, courts, and so forth. And then lastly, on the 29th of September, accompanied by Councilmember Bloom, he and I went to the elected leaders reception at the Reach Museum. As usual, that is an outstanding event to get to interface with other regional elected leaders in the area. And that's all I have for now, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Been busy, and thank you again for covering for me while I was on travels with Energy Communities Alliance in Washington, D.C. That week of the 19th. We had a great conference. A lot of the topics, the main topic was really the retention, recruitment challenges that we have, not only at our site at Hanford, but nationwide at all the legacy sites and any other complex that is part of DOE. So 2 days of those meetings was with FCOG, who is the trades, represents the trades, DOE with Ike White, who's a senior advisor for environmental management, as well as the ECA board. Some of the discussions that we were having and the challenges is the need for the education and where the education starts, not only in the STEM aspect of education, starting at the young age in the grade school, middle school, and high school, but also the trades. Not everybody's a studious individual, but the need for trades needs to be focused a little harder on. Some of the challenges that the sites have throughout the entire complex is the ability to use funding for different expenditures. DOE, anybody knows better than Aaron what it takes to work with federal money and the challenges that come along with that. And so hopefully some of the conversations that we've had, the ideas that we've come up with, Ike White has given us an instruction to continue given his staff instructions to continue the conversations with FCOG, ECA, and other players in the game to come up with some opportunities and ideas that maybe the federal government can change to loosen their bootstrap or belt a little bit and allow us to spend money where it's necessary for recruitment and retention, as we all suffer the same challenges, not only in the federal government, but also municipalities and then in the private sector as well. So it was a very good meeting. We will continue that one. We'll have more conversation in regards to that when we have our intergovernmental conference in mid-November. So I should be able to share with you a little bit more of progress that is made there. So there was a good representation from our region. We had Brian Vance, site manager, and his staff was there. Pam Larson, who was retired from Hanford Communities in the city of Richland, as a lifetime member, had opportunity to participate. Mayor Alvarez from Richland was there, and also David Repog from Tridec, and he also is the executive director for Hanford Communities. So we had a lot of representation, which we do with these meetings, which is very important. We have the biggest mess of any of the sites on the complexes. It'll take billions of dollars and billions of dollars to get to an end, but it won't be in probably most of our life cycles. And that is some of the challenges as these other sites reach cleanup. We need to make sure that the people in Washington, D.C. don't lose sight of the Hanford region. A lot of times when everybody else hangs the shingle up closed, the funding closes with it. So we're trying to make sure that that does not happen. I am happy to announce that we've had some movement with the state of Washington, who have been a little bit of obstructionists when it comes to the Department of Ecology in regards to high-level waste definition as well as grouting. Last year, we were able to have one-on-one conversations with ecology. The gentleman's name was David, and I'm drawing a blank on his last name now. We've had a couple of meetings with them, and hopefully we'll be able to move the governor's office a little further along and getting on board with the other individuals throughout the legacy sites, the other states throughout the legacy sites that agree that these are better opportunities to expedite cleanup at a less of an expense. So hopefully that will continue. We're very pleased to see that the governor's office sent to the Department of Energy a request for more funding than what is being allotted to us now. That's a sign of he's getting on board with what we've got going on out there at the site. It takes a lot of my time, but I feel it's very important that this region is represented, not only for City of West Richland, but our region as a whole. And as being the chair of Energy Communities Alliance, has given me that opportunity to be able to push a little bit harder in the federal government side of it to assist this cleanup of this legacy site out here at Hanford. As many of you know that are here, we got a lot to do, and this doesn't happen overnight. We need to get all on the same page to make it happen. So I will continue to forge forward in that endeavor, and hopefully Mayor Pro Tem Brink will still be able to support me when I'm not able to attend meetings. Unfortunately, they've scheduled some of these during council times, but with now getting back out of COVID, it seems like all of the hotels, motels, and conference centers are getting very busy. So the ability to choose a convenient time is not yet returned. So with that, I think that's all that I have this evening. I want to thank again the chief for the Chief for a Day. It was a very moving event. You didn't have a lump in your throat and a tear in your eye. The strength of this young lady is just absolutely incredible. She sat at that table with pre-answered questions that she was going to answer from the media. They had a media press conference, and they asked her questions, and she was getting tired. She was pooped by the end of the day. She dried a couple of tears. Her parents patted her on the back, and she sat there and went through probably a couple of pages and didn't miss a beat. I mean, Mayor Pro Tem Brink, this girl's the real deal. She outshined us as far as being able to read off a piece of paper and not stumble. So yeah, it was awesome. So thank you. I really appreciate that. And we look forward to reoccurring annual event, Chief for a Day. And she was pretty hard on Chief Grego, but you know, he dried that tear up and sucked up the bootstraps, and he did okay. So thank your staff for everything. With that, council, I will adjourn this meeting at 7 p.m. on the dot. Thank you.